Hello everyone. I'd like to present our project which was related to editing and typesetting the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and it was organized during our classes in the pandemic times, so it was quite difficult because we worked online and quite distant from each other. And let me first tell you a few words about the general context. So the work was selected as part of the major project Editing Editorial Classic, and I can say it was somehow split into two parts. So before 2019, and this project was part of the editing publishing program offered to our postgraduate students of English by the Department of English, Faculty of Languages, Mikołaja Kopernika University, and it was conducted, it was prepared during one semester of the Introduction to English Text Editing and Typography course, and the course belonged to a group of editing and publishing program comprising also history of the book in Great Britain and United States, English text editing, composition of English texts, proofreading, history of newspapers and magazines in Great Britain and the United States, copyright in Great Britain and the United States, and selected aspects of the publishing process. And in terms of the second part, which is still happening since 2019, so in 2019 became part of the editing and philology English studies, also offered to postgraduate students of English by the Faculty of Humanities. And as the previous project, this one is also one semester long, and during our classes of Introduction to English Text Editing and Typography. But now the scope of other courses is somehow limited, because within the program you can still find history of the book in Great Britain and the United States, literature of English-speaking countries, English linguistics, and selected aspects of the publishing process. And why is this project important? So to answer this question, I should describe the interconnections and interrelationships between such disciplines and fields as editorial scholarship, textual scholarship, book history, and philology. So in terms of editorial scholarship, so in general terms we can say that its focus is to investigate the process of creating, editing and publishing. It deals with the rules, principles of editing, and studies various editions and the development, and deals with various agents or figures involved in the editorial process, so not only such generic terms as publisher, reader, author, but some other agents, for example booksellers, printers, and all the agents involved in the editorial and publishing process. In terms of textual scholarship, so what is important, what's crucial, is that it places the text in the center of study, seeks to discover the original text in accordance with the author's intention. Yes, that's still the major assumption in textual scholarship, and in terms of identifying, restoring, and giving, let's say, the form as similar to the authors, or as not similar, but in fact the same as imagined by the author's intention. It focuses on stages, changes and revisions that the text has gone through. It seeks to restore the pure features of the text, and it analyzes the authenticity of the text, especially in a situation where many different editions of just one single text exist. It comprises such fields as book history, paleography and bibliography. Book history studies the historical development of the book from the original writing through the emergence of print to e-publishing. It deals with distribution of books in society, addresses the questions of authorship and readerships, or readerships because there are many theories of readership involved here. Investigates the role of literary agents, patrons, criticism, politics, economy and the dissemination of books, and investigates the role of books in politics, history, religion, society. And in philology, surprise, surprise, you can find some simple definition taken from a common online encyclopedia, wherein philology is the study of language in written historical sources. It is a combination of literary criticism, history and linguistics. It is more commonly defined as the study of literary texts and written records, the establishment of the authenticity in the original form, and the determination of the meaning. So I'm somehow describing these interconnections and relationships to somehow anchor this project in our discussion, because our project of typesetting and editing literary work, it somehow also shows how these four disciplines are interconnected. Yes, so The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, if you it's about the context, so why this particular work? First of all, it was selected by a group of editing and publishing students for the project basis, so there are some other possible works, and we decided we should prepare that one. And it happened that the very process took place before the spread of COVID-19, but also with another group of students during the COVID-19 pandemic and the cycle of online classes. So we can say that it was edited and typeset after the return to on-site teaching too, because the work is still with us here. So we're planning to use this as the correction assignment basis, but also with a new group of students I would like to prepare this edition in 2023. And so in terms of, let's say, more general context, so it was prepared during one semester of the Introduction to English Text Editing and Typography course, and inside this course, so first we started defining typography and editing. We later moved to history of typography, theory of typography, letter anatomy, typography and interpretation of literary texts, and we finally focused on advanced usage of Microsoft Word. That was in the first semester, and in the second semester we analyzed book structure. We discussed the analysis of literary works in various editions. We selected a literary work for editing and typesetting, and after a thorough analysis, might we just focused on the very project. And what happens next? So as I mentioned, right, so once our projects are finished, we correct them, we prepare cover designs, and finally interactive editions. So the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, in terms of some preliminary research and brainstorming. So as I mentioned, the very first step was to brainstorm our ideas in terms of selecting proper work, and the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes was shortlisted for the project basis, along with such works as The Ten of the Screw, which is also crucial because it was edited in 2014, and during 2 consecutive study cycles, which I described during one of our conferences. Other works included The Great Expectations and Pride and Prejudice, but The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, well, that was the work we chose. So the reasons. So well, first of all, limited number of typographical and editorial features. So limited number of paratextual aspects. So well, we thought some simple classic type for the main text, and there were some letters only, and separate styles for story titles and some sections. Copyright expiry, because we know that the work is in public domain, and the public domain version is available, so we could use it. Access to many editions, so we analyzed and examined various editions, print and digital ones. Knowledge of the text and its adaptations, right? So our students demonstrated this knowledge, and perhaps it was one of defining aspects in selecting this work for our edition and typography project. So yes, the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes somehow splits our classes into 2 periods, so before and after 2019, so before the pandemic. So basically there were on-site meetings, laboratory classes. We used Adobe InDesign CS6 licensed version, and it was installed in our lab room. And so only, for instance, on-site meetings were devoted to preparing our edition, and some steps included using public domain text. We somehow prepared this in Microsoft Word, the simple text, so we just got rid of any potential copyright elements like typographical solutions, editorial features. So we just created, we call it pure text. We placed it in design document, and after preparing proper document setup, master pages, paragraph styles, and applying these, we created our common in-class version edition of the work. And so during the pandemic, our classes were all the online mode, basically via Microsoft Teams, but there were still lab classes. So our places, our houses, where they were like labs that we could work both together and alone. and it was possible only because of Scribus. So the freeware version used during the project. Scribus, which is very similar to Adobe InDesign, because it's not like functional 100%, but still just make use of it. And the steps were very similar, because we also use public domain text, but it was pre-prepared, not in Microsoft Word, but in some freeware word processor. The pure text was placed in a Scribus document, and then we also focus on a proper document setup, master pages, and paragraph styles. Right, and the final result here. Yes, and a few words about our steps. Right. So first we placed our text in a Scribus file. So as you can see, it still here resembles right the text right pre-prepared in Microsoft Word or in any other commercial or freeware editing and word processing program. And later we started creating different paragraph styles. So the option, which is both available in InDesign and in Scribus, so you can add as many attributes of your text as possible to make it professional, ready for print publication. And in paragraph styles, what you can define such elements as type or font size, leading or line spacing, and more advanced features also include tracking, kerning, and alignment, and baseline grid alignment. So now you can see some lines here and lines of our text, and these are not aligned here, but they will become so. I'm going to show it by doing one of consecutive slides here. And yes, so our work in progress, right? So selecting the text, right, applying different features of a given paragraph style, and here you see that well, this text, right, is somehow becoming right a kind of book. Still not professional, right, but you can see changes, right, somehow in progress. And yes, some features here and some functions of styles. Okay, so you can, as I mentioned, use such options as drop caps. You can also apply optical margins, and you can align this text to the baseline grid. Okay, create line lamps, right, and other features too. And styles are very useful because once you create a given style, you can apply it to your text. It will change automatically, and later you can also modify a given style. So you can change font size, you can change leading and other more advanced features too. Yes, now you can see how we prepared our different styles. Was for next paragraph. Okay, so the procedure we applied was to first create most advanced paragraph style, and later just to use this as a kind of basis for other further styles in which little modification is needed. Yes, and here I can see our paragraph style right for story number and title, and you can see both our settings here, and you can preview actually what happened as we changed these elements. And yes, baseline grid, so very significant in print publications, so a kind of, let's say, imaginary, invisible grid of lines upon which our lines of text should rest. And here I can see that they actually do rest on such lines. And it's important when you print a book, for instance, and you want to avoid the situation in which text on one page, right, is somehow visible in white spaces on the other page. And if you apply baseline grid alignment, then such things do not happen, because the text right across your book, it just rests right on the same lines in the grid. Yes, and somewhere at the beginning I mentioned that the text in terms of its typography and editorial aspects is not very complex, and some single exceptions in terms of the text of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So letters, for instance, they required some formatting, but basically that formatting was only about providing some paragraph spacing before and after, and I suppose that was all here. And of course I also mentioned that, so once a given style was created, right, at any stage it would be modified, right, and we frequently apply different modifications, both to somehow improve, to enhance the already formatted text, but also to adapt it for other parts of text, like for instance story numbers, story titles, right, and other extra elements here, display elements requiring some modification simply. Yes, and you see here the process of modifying paragraph styles, and we can see our alignment on both pages here, and yes, so you see titles, right, plus drop caps, the main text. And removing widows and orphans was perhaps the final step, but very difficult one, and that's actually what makes Scribbles different from InDesign, because we had to apply tracking condensed or expanded tracking, so distance between individual characters across lines of text, to get rid of single lines, for example, at the top or at the bottom of our pages. And it was like manual work in contrast to InDesign, and it took some classes, right, to go through this edition and to correct this in terms of widows and orphans. And creating and applying master pages, right? So these are like overriding features added to ranges of pages, and including such elements as story titles and current page numbers, running heads, and yes, both in Scribus and in InDesign. You can create and edit master pages, and whichever you include on the master page, it will appear on your regular pages based on a given master. Yes, so that was basically some selection in terms of the process of editing and typesetting the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes in 2019 and 2020, and what happened next. So in the summer 2021-2022, we decided to return to the school. That was a decision made by us while doing our classes. We also returned to Adobe InDesign because we could make use of our lab. But still, the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes was used for our correction assignment, and I still believe it will be considered for our project in 2023 in the summer semester. Yes, so I guess that would be it. So here you can see references I used to prepare this presentation, and visual aids, right? So screenshots, right, and charts. So these were basically taken from my Moodle courses, prepared the first one in 2016 with some modifications entered in 2019, and the other one, right, so from the recent version 2022, and here I mean the chart illustrating different connections between philology, textual scholarship, editorial studies, and book history. So I'd like to thank you very much for listening to me and for watching this presentation. And so the project is still part of the course for our MA students of English at the Faculty of Humanities, and the very course of English text editing and typography corresponds with other courses in Anglophone literature, culture, and linguistics. So if you are a holder of a BA degree in English studies, you're welcome to join us in Toruń. Thank you very much.